Hello, what's up? Welcome to the Value Script, where we're bringing value for the everyday person with every episode. Today, we got a personal story I want to run through. A story of my own fear. And I'm going to try to keep it together because this goes deep for me. And there's times in life when there's times in life when I get scared. There's times in life when something happens that seems insurmountable. And you have to decide, do I believe in my cause enough to push through this? Or am I going to go sit in the corner and hide from what I need to face? And sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. And it's important to push through those plateaus personally to be able to get where we want to go. And I'll start out with a little story. Friday night, my wife and I were out and we're in downtown Phoenix at Copper Blues. And there's this cover band that was playing. It was one of our favorite bands to see at that establishment. And as part of their skit, as part of their show, they do karaoke. So if you want to get up on stage with the band, and this is a talented band, they can seemingly play anything. The guitarist is phenomenal. The lead singer is great. And the drummer's fantastic. The bass player's no, the bass player is great. Everybody's great. But the lead singer is fantastic enough that when people would go up there didn't sound good, she would oversing them and make them sound great. And if somebody could sing, she would kind of back off and let them sing and do their thing. They had this little iPad up there where the words would come up and step with the music and the rhythm and the beat. And so I thought, I'm feeling a little bold tonight. I'll go up and sing a song. So I texted them and say I wanted to sing one of my favorite songs, September by Daughtry. And, 30 minutes probably goes by and I think, you know what? I probably dodged that bullet. I was feeling a little less bold and maybe I shouldn't have signed up. And all of a sudden they read my name from the stage and they even announced that I'm going to sing September by Daughtry. So I walk up there, and everybody's cheering and I get up on stage and, it was a good crowd, a lot of support there. And all of a sudden they start playing a song called September, but it wasn't by Daughtry. It was by Earth, Wind, and Fire. You've ever heard the song? They're very different songs. Do you remember when it first started? September, love was changing the minds, and way out of my vocal range. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Do I jump off the stage right now, run off and cower? And or do I just sit here and own it? And I thought, well, I just got to own this. And I threw everything I had into singing that song. I had to go full falsetto into the chorus, and I don't know, how did I do, Meredith?
You did great. I was panicked for you because, as soon as they started playing, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is not the song." And I was like, "What's he gonna do?"
One second.
What?
We got a B-52 bomber flying over.
It's actually an F-35.
Yeah, I know. You thought he was doing good?
He did do good.
Yeah.
Yes. I was.
Really though? Come on.
No, I really was.
I mean, that song's way out of my league.
It was way out of your range. It was, but you went for it. But see, that's the whole thing with karaoke. You just got to go for it, and you can sing. It's not like you're tone deaf.
So I have average ability.
Where do they have the words?
They have this little iPad right next to your mic, so it's almost like.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like a heads-up display while you're driving. You don't really have to look down much.
Yeah,
it's genius. And then you can kind of look at the crowd and look like you know what you're singing.
Yeah.
And the lead singer is great too because she was very musical, and so she was able to count the beats and let you know when to come in and that kind of thing. So
she's intense too, man.
Together.
She is fully passionate about doing this.
Yeah.
You can tell. And she's awesome. She'll count you in. She'll tell you when to sing. She'll tell you when to stop.
Yeah.
She'll tell you when to get louder.
And if you get off, she'll sing the melody to get you back on track.
Well, I think you were telling me that they would lower somebody if they didn't sound
seemingly. She may have just out sang him. If they didn't sound as good, seemingly that person, you would hear less of their voice and you'd hear more of hers. It was fantastic. It worked out really well. So I was confident this will turn out okay. Anyways, but I had to go for it. It was one of those moments, right? Everybody's looking at you. I'm on stage. I asked to be there. I had to perform.
I guarantee there's, 80% of the people though would have stepped down. I'm serious. That's a big move to stay up and
it is just
sing
impromptu with a song that you aren't
that you
intending
didn't
to sing.
choose.
Yeah.
Well, and way out of my vocal range too. Right? Not even my genre, man. But I grabbed the mic, I took it off the stand, and I just owned it.
Yeah.
It was fun. Supposedly there's some video floating around out there. Haven't seen that, and purposely didn't watch that before this commentary because I didn't want to disillusion myself any further. But it was ended up being a great time.
We'll see if the video arises before I edit this. No.
Perhaps. But so anyway, the next day, I found myself in another situation which seemingly wouldn't be so bad. We had a youth lake trip, a youth group with church, and they'd asked me if we could bring our boat, and of course I had to go drive it. And that shouldn't be a big deal. And we love going to the lake. Grew up on the water, grew up going to the lake all the time, water skiing, wakeboarding. For spring break of 2020, when COVID was hitting, we had plans to go to the beach in California. They shut California down and shut our plans down too. And so we were like, what are we going to do to save spring break? And I kind of wanted to buy a boat anyway. So in 4 days,
let's save spring break. Let's buy a boat.
So in 4 days we bought a boat, and we just actually did happen to know a guy who was the reigning wake surf champion, and we'd been on his boat, and so he was selling it, and so we knew it was available. We bought it, and that was our spring break that year. We went to Lake Pleasant. We borrowed my cousin's RV.
It was cold.
It was a horrible experience.
Rainy. Our poor babies are like in their sweatshirts and like.
It was like rainy
pelted by rain.
It was Arizona, but it was still cold. The water temperature was 55 degrees the whole week. There was times we got caught out in rainstorms on the lake. But nonetheless, through that summer, my kids developed ability for wake surfing. And in fact, Connor Burns would come and he would give us lessons on his old boat. And the kids got really good. And they were getting to the point where we're just about to master their 360s on their wake surf, starting to do some jumps. And then we were at the lake one day surfing, and we had an experience that really was a little harrowing. And my son and I had always been a fan of the big, long 40-foot speedboats with various configurations of engines and things. And that day, we saw one of these boats come out of a cove, and the driver just dropped the hammer, shooting this beautiful rooster tail. It was amazing. It was 100-foot long rooster tail probably, and the boat got up on a plane. It was probably doing close to 90 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, as we're watching this boat, my son and I are cheering it on and slapping each other's backs and like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Can't wait to have one of those. And we watch it spin into a disastrous wreck and crashed right in front of us. After that happened, we were the closest boat to the wreck. So we get our rider back on board. We scream over to the crash site, and there was another boat that was coming from the other direction that got to the driver first. And they pulled him up on their step, and the driver's knee looked like it had been shot by a shotgun. And his face didn't look much better. What I remember more than anything was him wailing for his wife. And he was like, my wife. He was just wailing and just agony for his wife. He wasn't talking about his face. He wasn't talking about his knee. He was talking about his wife. We're like, oh my gosh, what's her name? And he told us her name. So we're all starting to try to figure out, where is she? Because she's not floating. We didn't see her. And we spent as much time as we could stand looking for her. Obviously she'd hit the water and sank, and we couldn't find her. The boat they were in was still drifting. One of the thrusters was stuck open after the wreck. And so when my buddy, just instinctively, there was gas and oil all over the water. With the boat still running, I just thought, man, this is going to light on fire at any minute. And he just takes his shirt off and jumps in the water. I was like, where's he going? And he climbs up on the boat, and he's he's making sure that she's not trapped in the boat still. It was one of the most heroic things I've ever seen. He had no regard for his own life and was looking for her. And the boat was just trashed. The whole dash was ripped apart. All the seats were ripped out of the boat. The transom was cracked. It was taken on water. And somehow it was still in the floating position. It had spun a few times, and then it spun to the point where it was actually upright. And that's where it kind of stayed and drifted. It took about 15 minutes, and the police showed up and the rescue teams, and they kind of took over the scene. Well, as we were leaving after that, we'd done all that we could do. We started driving away, and we thought, well, because we had our kids with us too, and it was a really traumatic experience. Everybody was just kind of shell shocked. We thought, well, let's go drive around and look at some pretty stuff in the lakes. We're going to go up the canyon and look at trying to distract the kids. So as we're driving away, all of a sudden the police come and pull us over. They're like, hey, since you guys were the ones that saw the accident, can you come give us a statement? And so we had to drive over to the north ramp. And as we were doing that, it just hit me. Like it was at a time when Meredith and I were doing great. And I just thought, man, what if that had been us? Like, what if just like in that moment, I didn't have the opportunity to save our marriage. I didn't have the opportunity to make things better. And it was really an emotionally difficult time. Well, I didn't realize how much that had affected me until I was getting ready to go on this youth trip. And I was getting the boat ready. Of course, the batteries were dead. And I realized I haven't taken this boat out for over a year. And that was something we loved to do. But I just somehow had not been able to get myself to do it anymore. And so Saturday was an opportunity to get back on the horse that we fell off of, so to speak, and to get back in the water.
So how long had that been?
It had been over a year. It was March. No, it was May. It was May of 21. So from May to 21 to October 22.
Not that long ago.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, and I was working with my son to get the boat ready, and I was like, hey, bud, we haven't had this out since that day. And he was like, yeah, that was freaking traumatic, Dad. And I didn't realize it affected him the same way too. But it was the first time he'd ever talked about it. So we, again, it was one of those experiences where are you gonna let the fear or the bad experiences or whatever's has given you a reason to shelve what you love or shelve your goals or to shelve your progress. And sometimes that shelving process is necessary for healing. But beyond that, what are you going to let stand in the way of your goals? And the reason I put going to the lake is in part of my goals. It's part of my empire building is because that's one of the family activities we love to do. And it's one of the more wholesome family activities you can do together. It's one of the only times when you're together as a family, when you're like, your whole family's like cheering for each other. Mm-hmm. Like when you get up on the wakeboard and like you jump the wake and, your kids are cheering you on or, it's simple things, but it's a beautiful activity. And we had an experience that made us not want to do that anymore. And it was really great to get back out on the water Saturday and not have that be a barrier anymore. It was great to go, the boat worked. That was the one thing we're staging the boat and everybody's like, oh, we love your paint job. And I was like, yeah, let's just see if this thing fires up. let's just make sure the boat starts before we think this boat's neat. And then, and it did, backing on the ramp, started right up and launched successfully. And it ended up being a great day. Addie, our daughter, got out there and got on the wake surf. Got up first try and tore it up. It was great.
Was that an emotion you were anticipating? Was getting out there, or was your thought process just on to lake day with the youth kids?
Both. So the driving force to kind of break out of that was I'm going to do service for our youth, the kids in our youth group, and I'm just there as a driver, and a couple of those kids happen to be my own, and so it was nice to be able to go to the lake with them and provide that and do that for them. So that was the motivation to go and kind of get out of that cycle. Yeah. But once I finally got there, it was liberating.
What's kind of interesting though, is that I feel like it wasn't an intentional thing that like, oh, that was so traumatic, we're not going to go to the lake. Right. Because I can't bear to go to the lake. It really wasn't even something that we recognized until it had been all this time where we hadn't gone. And you're like, gosh, it's been since that day that we haven't gone to the lake. And sometimes I think just in life with things that when you were talking about shelving certain things, mm-hmm. that happens sometimes where we don't even recognize how we are limiting ourselves, limiting our potential until some time has gone by and it's like, oh, wait a minute, like I'm slacking or I'm falling behind or I'm allowing this fear to override what I actually want to happen in my life. So I don't know, taking that moment to pause and reflect and
that's
and
what I was trying to ask, but I just worded it wrong because it was like, it's almost like you were able to face a situation that you didn't realize you needed to do.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, and until I really started prepping for this trip, I started thinking about, man, how long has it been?
Yeah.
Why haven't we gone?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah, because we loved it. Loved it. It was great.
It was fun. We used to love to go out, and Meredith and I would go and watch the sun go down and eat dinner on the boat. That was just kind of like a cool little date night.
Tons of my countless of my core memories as a kid are just at the lake with my family.
Yeah.
Like there's just something about it. Like late night talks on the dock or something like that. Like, me, as I got older, me and my dad and my brother, like smoke a cigar out on the dock and just have like those weird talks about like, outer space or just whatever, those just like,
it's like a campfire moment almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
We just chalk them up as lake conversations.
Right. Yeah, but that, to your point, like, it wasn't necessarily conscientiously like, I can't go to the lake, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
But those feelings did start coming up as I was prepping. I started thinking, how am I going to feel when we get to that location? Because that was it happened in the spot where we always go.
Did you get any anxiety from it?
I did at first.
Yeah,
for sure. Once I got out there, that faded, right? But getting there, and the initial launching of the boat, I was really had a lot of butterflies, really.
Yeah.
And Addie even checked in. I was like, how are you doing?
Really?
Yeah. She's like, how are you doing? I was like, I'm okay. I was like, how are you? And she's like, I'm okay. She was there too that day when it happened. She saw it all as well. So anyways, it was a good experience. I guess the point of this though is that, it comes back to discipline being more important than motivation, right? And not to be hard on yourself. When you go through something traumatic, it's okay. And it's okay to feel the emotions, and it's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to work through it however you need to. But also not letting that traumatic event keep you from doing something you love, because that just furthers the trauma. It just further deepens the wound, because you're not, part of healing is moving through it and getting back on your feet again and putting it behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. So good.
So don't let your fear stop you. And if you find yourself on stage and the wrong music starts playing, you know what? Just find a way to get to your feet. Start singing it, man.
Go for it.
Because once I started singing that song, it was terrifying. But once I hit the first chorus, I realized I can do this. And it became fun at that point.
Yeah. You really did great.
That is yet to be seen. We'll see if that video surfaces. All right, with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thanks for listening. We appreciate your time. Don't forget to click, like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time on The Value Script.